Okay, perfect. Thank you everyone for joining. I know these months are very busy, but we thought that this is a very important subject to touch on, which is introducing diverse suppliers to community contracting with Corewell Health and Vizient. So my name is Laura Geptos. I am the Program and Events Director with the Michigan Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, if you haven't already met. We offer plenty of resources for your business and yourself and our community to sustain and grow your business. So we thought this is a great opportunity to partner with Vizient and Corewell if you want to learn more about how to become a supplier as they look for community contracting as well. So with us on the call, we have Kelly Delgado, who's sourcing executive with Vizient. Thank you for joining, Kelly. We have Megan Steenwick, Senior Program Manager, Community Contracting with Vizient. And then we have Erica White, who is a supplier diversity lead with Corewell Health. So thank you so much, ladies, for joining. I just let me know when we're ready to begin, and I'll go ahead and go to the next slide.
Think we're ready to dive in. Thanks, Laura.
So I guess maybe this is my slide. I think we did introductions. So I'm going to start off just sharing a little bit about Corewell Health and our supplier diversity program. And then Megan and Kelly are going to share more about Vizient and community contracting. And then we'll have time at the end for questions. Next slide. Next slide. So I wanted to just start off by sharing a little bit of the history of Corewell Health. By now, most people know that Corewell Health is a integration of Spectrum Health and Beaumont Health. But if you weren't aware of that, this is a little timeline of kind of how Corewell Health came to be. So at one point, there was also Lakeland Health in 1992, which was made up of several hospital systems from the Southwest region of Michigan. Think St. Joe's, Niles, or St. Joseph and Niles, Michigan. And then they joined forces with Spectrum Health. And that became Spectrum Health as a whole. So Spectrum Health includes the hospital system in Grand Rapids, as well as Niles and St. Joseph area. Priority Health is also a part of Corewell Health. So I'm not sure how many people are aware of that, but Priority Health is our health plan. So that is also owned and operated in conjunction and collaboration with Corewell Health. Beaumont was also an integration of several different hospitals in the Metro Detroit area and joined with Lakeland and Spectrum Health to form Corewell Health in 2022. So we are actually the largest employer in the state of Michigan as Corewell Health. And you can go to the next slide. So again, just wanted to share a little bit more about the footprint of Corewell Health for awareness. So the way we think about the organization is in regions. So we have Corewell Health East, which is everything that's kind of in that bottom right-hand corner, those little blue dots on the state map. And then Corewell Health West is everything that is kind of in that western region surrounding Grand Rapids. Corewell Health South is everything in that southwest region. And then we have, as I mentioned, we're the largest employer in Michigan. We have over 60,000 team members. I think that number jumps up to 100,000 if you include contingent workers, contract workers, 15,000 nurses, above 15,000 nurses, above 5,000 licensed beds. And you can see some of the other statistics there. But I wanted to share this just to give folks an idea of the breadth and depth of Corewell Health. You can go to the next slide. So I also wanted to share just some of our awards and recognitions that are relevant for supplier diversity. And there's actually some new ones that I'll share that aren't on here. But we have kind of a long history of acknowledgement for our efforts in diversity, equity, and inclusion. So diversity best practices, inclusion index company, disability equality index, top 100, top scorer for disability equality index, the National Diversity Council Index, best U.S. companies for diversity, and several others. And you can see the silver, veteran-friendly silver level certification that we've received, and some other individual awards as well for some of our leaders. In more recent years, we have, as of this year, received a Great Lakes Women's Business Council Excellence in Supplier Diversity Award. Very recent, just was awarded that in September. And also, I personally received recognition as a top woman in diversity by Diversity Plus magazine. So that is, just a little bit about our work and our recognition. You can go to the next slide. And I think this is important to share too, because some of you probably, you may work with healthcare or hospital systems, but some of you may work with automotive or other industries. And so I think it's important to just give an overview of the timeline of supplier diversity relative to Corewell Health, because we are not as established in our supplier diversity program as maybe some other organizations that you all work with or industries. So I think it just helps to kind of level set. We're earlier on our journey in supplier diversity, but we are excited about where we are. And we are super excited for the future and just to continue to build upon a strong foundation. So back in 2020, when it was Spectrum Health before the merger or integration to Corewell Health, there was a person that had 50-50 responsibility for supplier diversity and sustainability. And then the next year we signed the Impact Purchasing Commitment, which is a commitment through the Healthcare Anchor Network, which I'll share more about in another slide. But just solidifying the commitment to supplier diversity at that point at Spectrum Health. And then in June, fast forward a little bit of 2020, we named and hired our first executive Chief Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Officer, Carlos Cubia. And shortly after that, Jeremy Rusticus was hired to start a supplier performance management team. That's the team that I fall under. Supplier performance management includes sustainability. So you'll see Kaylee Swanson there, and supplier diversity. You'll see my picture there. It also includes third-party supplier risk management, supplier recalls, supplier resiliency. So I think, in the grand scheme of things, we're moving in the right direction when it comes to just having a more mature supply chain and, actually maturing our supplier diversity program as well. You can go to the next slide. So I want to share a little bit more about the Healthcare Anchor Network. This is a commitment that we've made along with many other hospital systems. So I encourage you all to look up the Healthcare Anchor Network, especially if you have a desire to do more business in the healthcare and hospital industry or sector. It's made up of many large hospital systems across the country. So Corewell Health, Henry Ford Health, Cleveland Clinic, Kaiser Permanente, just to name a few. The Healthcare Anchor Network is a nonprofit organization that really is seeking to bring individuals together that are part of these anchor institutions to really drive health equity, supplier diversity, sustainability, so that we can have more prosperity for everyone that we all support, right? The communities that we all serve together. So part of the Healthcare Anchor Network is the Impact Purchasing Commitment. There are many different kind of segments of commitments within the Healthcare Anchor Network, but the one that relates to supplier diversity is the Impact Purchasing Commitment. So there are three main pieces to our commitment there. So that first one is doubling the amount of tier 1 non-construction spend that we have with minority and women business enterprises, increasing our minority women business enterprise construction related spend, and then tracking, basically establishing a tier 2 program for our top like strategic non-diverse suppliers. There's also goals around sustainability regarding reducing transportation emissions, greenhouse gas, increasing sustainable food purchases, and identifying operating room products that we can move from disposable to reusable. We also track locally headquartered, owned, and operated businesses. So not only is it important that we look at our diverse suppliers, it's equally important for us to look at local suppliers that are right in our state. And we also track any employee-owned and nonprofit-owned entities that we do business with. You can go to the next slide. So I wanted to share this as well because this is super important when it comes to any supplier diversity initiatives, is to really ensure that there's commitment from the very, very top of the organization. So we have an enterprise leadership diversity metric that is at the very highest level of the organization and tracked, and is tied to our executive compensation. So there's 4 elements of the enterprise leadership diversity metric. So the top 3 are all around promotions of people of color and women into director and above positions. The third one is around ensuring that we have diverse slates of candidates and a diverse panel for director and above positions. And then the last one there is around supplier diversity spend. So we make up a quarter of that. You can go to the next slide, Lauren. So this is a slide that just kind of summarizes our strategy. So the HIND goals that I mentioned, that is definitely part of our strategy. But as an organization, it's broader. So it's really focused on three pillars. So retention, growth, and development are the 3 strategic priorities and pillars of our supplier diversity strategy. Our vision is we strive to create a supplier community where everyone, regardless of background, has a chance to excel and prosper. So under the retention piece, we really want to keep suppliers. Once we get a diverse supplier, we want to do what we can to retain them. So we want to make sure that we're looking at our processes, mitigating any bias that might exist, and looking at opportunities to grow our suppliers. Are they providing, a good or service in one region? Could they be providing that in another region of Corewell Health? Or are we aware of all of the goods and services that they provide? Are we utilizing all of them? So really thinking about retention. And then when we think about growth, it's growing our existing suppliers' footprints, but also looking for new diverse suppliers and qualifying them, including them in every open competitive bid opportunity that we have so that they have a chance to participate and earn the business. And fostering a multicultural and inclusive climate across Corewell Health. And then how do we develop those suppliers? So how do we continue to pour into our suppliers? How do we advocate with them? How do we partner with, organizations like the Michigan Hispanic Chamber of Commerce and others to provide resources and tools that will help set our suppliers up for success? Investing that time, communicating more effectively with our diverse suppliers about how to do business with us and what our expectations are, things of that nature. And then some of the strategic focus areas that just are always ongoing are education of our internal and external stakeholders, and data and analytics. And I also wanted to mention, before we go to the next slide, is that while those HIND goals are specific to women and minorities, we track all aspects of diverse suppliers at Corewell Health. So when we set our targets for Corewell Health, they include women, minorities, veterans, the disabled community, and the LGBTQ plus community. So I wanted to mention that as well. Next slide, please. So community contracting, this is I won't share a whole lot about it because I know Megan and Kelly are going to share more information, but this is our first kind of cohort for Michigan. So it's a partnership between Corewell and Vizient. Vizient is our GPO, which you'll hear that terminology. And I know Kelly and Megan are going to define what a GPO is, but a lot of hospital systems have GPO partners. So this program is really us coming together to collaborate and figure out how we can, how we can grow healthier populations, how we can have a greater impact on economic viability for our diverse suppliers. How can we set them up for success to do business with the hospital system? So I'll leave it there on that. So you can go to the next slide. So I don't have a list of like potential real open opportunities right now, but I thought it would be helpful to just share how our sourcing teams are set up at Corewell Health. So we have 3 sourcing teams. One is direct sourcing. So this is things to oversimplify, things that go in or on a patient. So anything that really touches a patient would be kind of classified as direct sourcing. So you can see what those things are: cardiovascular, lab, radiology, medical surgical specialties, etc. Indirect sourcing, this is where the majority of a lot of our diverse suppliers probably exist. This is professional services, construction, facilities, clinical and capital equipment, and a lot of other stuff. So the bullet points underneath that, those are like the key departments that would be aligned with indirect sourcing. So facility services, environmental, nutrition, marketing, human resources, etc. And then lastly, we have digital services and priority health. So this is all things IT and insurance plan related. So if your good or service can be a good fit for priority health, or is something that could support our insurance plan, then it would fall under digital services and priority health. Or if you have traditional IT, business applications, cybersecurity, anything that's kind of IT related would fall under the digital services and priority health sourcing teams. You can go to the next slide. And I did want to share just a couple of success stories. So we have successfully completed a trial that we were trying to get diverse hair care products into our hospitals. And so we have a women minority-owned company that is providing more diverse hair care, shampoo and conditioner specifically, in our hospitals in Grand Rapids and the east side of the state as well. So this was, a lot of effort to kind of get this underway, a lot of time, because there are so many compliance things that we have to go through when it comes to anything that touches a patient. So, but we're super excited about that. Wanted to share that. And then we also more recently have a local women minority-owned company providing thicker shower caps. So if you've ever had a long stay at a hospital, you normally get the little flimsy kind of thin shower caps. But if you have thicker hair, curlier hair, diverse hair types that needs a little bit more protection to make sure the moisture doesn't get in when you're taking a shower, that's what these are that we were able to source. And the other great thing about this is this was our first contract that came through community contracting in collaboration with Vizient. So we got the first purchases through this organization. So super excited about that and just wanted to share those success stories. You can go to the next slide. So I thought helpful to just provide some tips for success. Do your research. Really, so I think the fact that you all are here, that's step one. You're trying to learn about, what it is that Corewell and Vizient are offering, how to do business with us, but really do your research. Understand what your value proposition is and be able to articulate it clearly and concisely. Because we, supplier diversity professionals, we're approached all the time by suppliers. And if you're not clear and concise about what it is you do, I may not remember, I may not understand, and then I can't really help you, right? So be sure that you know what your value is and why you think your product or service would be helpful or beneficial for Corewell or whomever you're looking to do business with. I always say be persistent but not aggressive. Like, just there's a fine line there. So learn that line. Follow through with your commitments. It is very frustrating when a supplier diversity professional kind of sticks up for a supplier or, advocates for a supplier, and then that supplier doesn't do the things that they need to do. So then it just kind of creates more bias and more misconceptions and more stereotypes. So we want to avoid that. And really understand that supplier diversity, folks, me, Megan, Kelly, we're here to advocate for you. Really lean into us, use us as a resource. If we're telling you, to approach something in a certain way, we're not doing that to like get rid of you or kind of push you off. We're doing that to try to help you because we understand the culture at our organizations. We understand different political things within the organization that you might not. So there's a reason why we might be directing you in a certain way. So follow the advice that we provide you. Be patient. Hospital systems are very complex. Corewell Health is even more complex because we've had this huge integration where you've had all these different hospital systems trying to come together. There are regional and geographical differences. So you have to be patient. Things don't always happen in the time that we would want them to. But if you're patient and persistent, not aggressive, and you bring your best, there may be something that ends up coming to fruition for you. So just keep those things in mind. And next slide. So that is my portion of our talk for today. But my contact information is here. I also included my leaders' contact information. These will be on the slides that you get after the webinar. But feel free to reach out if you have questions. I'll pause right if anybody wants to ask a question. But again, as Laura mentioned, if you don't want to be recorded asking the question, we can save that for later. Thank you, Ashley. Thanks for coming.
So, Erica, and if anyone has any questions and you feel comfortable being on the recording, feel free to unmute or just add it in the chat. I'll be happy to share it for you. But if there are no questions, we'll move on.
Thank you.
Awesome. All right. Thank you so much, Erica. So Kelly and I are going to talk a little bit more about the group purchasing organization piece of this. So Vizient is Corewell's group purchasing organization called a GPO. And as Erica mentioned before, a lot of large corporations and health systems will have a GPO, and we'll dive into why that is. So next slide, please, Laura. All right. And then the next one as well. So Vizient is the nation's leading healthcare improvement company. So we have three basic arms that we have services in. So we have consulting. We just acquired Kaufman Hall, which is a large healthcare consultant. And we also have spend management, which is where our program community contracting falls under. And then we also have data and digital services. We work with 97% of the academic medical centers across the US. So these are your large health systems like Northwestern and many other well-known universities, as well as 60% of the acute care hospitals in the US. So we are the largest GPO in the healthcare space. And next slide, please. So GPOs they help the healthcare provider in several ways by reducing healthcare costs, supporting transparency, providing data and across different healthcare systems. And we know that a lot of the academic centers that we work with, as well as just the large healthcare systems, they all have goals and priorities that they need to meet. So Vizient is really trying to walk alongside each healthcare system for where they're at, and not only in supplier diversity, but in all aspects of operations. So that's primarily what we do. I will have Kelly kind of jump into more of the specifics of the GPO, and then we'll talk more about how contracting works with Vizient.
Thank you, Megan. So, a little bit about GPOs. One of the main roles of the GPO is to negotiate the pricing and the terms and conditions for the products or services that we are putting on contract. Another thing that the GPO does is that we really help to make the supply chains at each of our hospitals a little more efficient by helping them to standardize suppliers or standardize products, because the more money and the more spend that you maximize with your GPO, it can help you move tiers. So the more spend sometimes will help you reach a higher tier, which could be a lower price. One of the other things that we do is that we collect spend on a monthly basis for our members so that we can take a look at what you are buying on contract and off contract. And what this does is it allows us to help make recommendations in order for you to move off contract spend to contracted spend, which is typically less expensive. You could go to the next slide, Laura, please. So how does the GPO work? So again, I am one of the sourcing executives. I'm part of the sourcing team. And what I do as the sourcing executive for Michigan is that once I initiate conversations with the supplier and we have decided to work together, I will work with you to negotiate the pricing, the terms and conditions. We will sit together to determine what products or services you are willing to offer on the contract. And what we do is once we execute the contract, we make all of these contracts available to our participating members. Every contract that we negotiate in community contracting, and I try to stress this, they are voluntary. Just because we have a signed and executed agreement does not mean that our participating members will always purchase from them. With Corewell right now being our cohort member, if I put a staffing company on contract, if Corewell does not have a need or they are not running an RFP for staffing, there may be a time lapse in between the time that we execute a contract and there being an opportunity for Corewell to utilize that contract. What we do is we make your contracts visible. And when someone like Erica comes to me and says, Kelly, we have a staffing RFP going out. Do you have any local and diverse suppliers that I can use or that I can invite to participate? That is what this program does. It will really give you an opportunity to gain visibility that you maybe wouldn't have had to a system like Corewell. What we also do is we have our contracting team, which is overseen by an advisory council that's made up of healthcare executives across the country. You can go to the next slide. So just a little bit more insights about a GPO. One thing that I don't think a lot of people understand is that the GPO does not purchase or distribute any of your products. When you think about Vizient, you think about Vizient as the keepers of the contract. That is the main purpose of the GPO, is to negotiate the terms, conditions, and the prices for your agreement. And one of the ways that GPOs earn revenue is through administrative fees. So there is no cost to you for joining or participating in community contracting. The only time that you pay, Vizient is based on purchases that are made from our participating members. So if there's a quarter and none of our members utilized your contracts, you do not owe Vizient and administrative fees. Those administrative fees are typically less than 4% of the revenue that you brought in from our participating members. I think you can go to the next slide.
All right. Thank you, Kelly. So Vizient Community Contracting started in 2020 as an answer to having a local supplier diversity program with Vizient. Vizient's national program has been around since 1999, but we did not have something that was for suppliers that were a little bit smaller, maybe newer, and looking to do business with our healthcare providers. So the program started in 2020 as a pilot and has grown over time with our launch partners. And we have, I know, a map on the next slide, but kind of wanted to touch base on that. And it really is looking to, like I said before, walk alongside healthcare providers where they are in their supplier diversity journey and making sure that they're utilizing local suppliers to their region. So for our case, Corewell in Michigan. Next slide, Laura. So this shows where our reach is currently. So we have launch partners in each of the teal states, and the yellow states there are those that we have prospects as well. So the program is growing, and the idea is to launch it in 50 states, everywhere that Vizient has members. And with other large corporations as well, we do have non-healthcare corporations that we work with. Next slide. And the idea really is around that community impact. So making sure that by having a system like Corewell, buying from local suppliers, we're addressing, creating jobs and livable wages, growing businesses in their local communities, growing across states so that these organizations can be regional, and improving access to care as well by impacting the social determinants of health. Next slide, please. And then this is just a graphic that kind of simplifies how suppliers might work with a health system as large as Corewell. So we have the GPO, which is us, Vizient, and then the distributors direct with the hospital, and then tier 2 with larger suppliers. So a couple of different ways to enter this type of work and partnership. All right, passing it back to you, Kelly.
Okay, thank you. You can go to the next slide. So tier 1 contracting avenues for diverse suppliers. When we say tier 1, that means that our business partners are actually spending money directly with you. We are not going through a distributor. We are not working with a larger organization that is subcontracting through you. We count tier 1 spend as spend directly from our participating members to you. Ideally, you would have a competitive bid process. There are several avenues for you to gain entry into supply chain and contracting with organizations. When there is not an opportunity for a competitive bid process, you have a no bid process, which means that you are not having to compete against similar organizations for business. And typically that is what community contracting is. Community contracting is a no bid process, meaning in order for you to be on contract with Vizient, you do not have to compete. But in order to gain access to Corewell Health business, you will compete in a competitively bid RFP. There are also other things that you may offer. There may be regional opportunities. You may be a local supplier that is able to deliver a product that's needed that another supplier cannot provide. Innovative technology, the example that I use is window washing. There was an opportunity for a window washing RFP, but what we were looking for was someone who washed windows with drones. So if you were a supplier at the time that offered the ability to wash windows with drones, then that was a way in order to participate in the RFP and to gain access to Corewell business. You can go to the next slide, please. So the contracting process has several stages. One is we engage with suppliers. We do webinars and we attend meetings with advocacy groups. So we are engaging suppliers the way that we are doing now with this meeting. Once we engage, we are going to offer you an opportunity to see our community contracting introduction video, where it gives you a little bit more insight into the program, and you have an opportunity at that point to determine if you want to complete an eligibility form. Once you complete an eligibility form, then the vetting process starts. You will complete the eligibility form, you will receive an NDA from me. And once I make sure that I have all the appropriate paperwork, you will go through governance approval, meaning you can now move on to the next stage of contracting. I will call you, we will schedule, it's typically 45 minutes to an hour meeting, and we sit down and I review every term and condition, all of the provisions in our contracting template. I give you an opportunity to ask me questions, and then I also will send this template to you and give you an opportunity to take this to your own legal counsel for review. And you can redline this document and send it back to me. So we will go through contract negotiation of the terms and conditions. Once we have come to an agreement, we will execute this agreement and begin the onboarding process. During the onboarding process, I will write a contract brief, which typically is a high-level summary of this contract. And I will say, I now have a contract with Erica White of the Erica White Foundation. Erica offers this list of products. She is on Vizient Community Contracting. She is a certified diverse supplier. And if you are interested or have a need for her products or services, this is how you can reach Erica White. And once we do all of that, we still offer some growth and development. We partnered with ICCC, which is a mentor and capacity building organization. So they offer a lot of things that can help a local business thrive. They will offer you mentorship. They will help you secure loans. They will help you identify opportunities to purchase capital equipment. You can go to the next slide, please. So again, how do we market our suppliers once you are on contract? So again, what I did tell you is about the contract brief, which is the printable summary of the basic contract, dates, products, contact information. We also have the Vizient catalog, which is our contract management website. And this is where any of our participating members can go to our contract catalog and search for a supplier by name, by business, by location. So you can also, I'm sorry, I lost my words, but through our Vizient catalog, that's one of the other ways that we will market you outside of me sending a contract brief and being in contact with the supplier diversity leads at the participating member locations. We have also partnered with Supplier Gateway, which is a supplier connection portal that you all have access to regardless of participating in community contracting or not. The supplier gateway tool is something that you can enter your own information into. And what that also does is it allows our participating members to search for suppliers. You can go, I think I have one more slide. Okay, so here, this is a full list of the community contracting categories. You don't have to take a picture or, of this because we will send out this slide, but just to give you high level, I mean, we contract for anything that is used or needed in a hospital. Landscaping and snow removal, valet services, elevator maintenance, interpretation services, janitorial supplies, security, pest control, HVAC services, and commercial printing. Those are just a few of the many categories that we contract for. You can go to the next slide, please. I do want to thank you for your time and your participation in this webinar. I thank you, Laura, for your partnership and for everything that you did to help us put this together. But if anyone is interested in participating in community contracting and watching our introduction video, as well as submitting an eligibility form, you can scan the QR code here on the page. And I'm actually going to drop the link in the chat as well.
Callie, yeah, this is really great information for everyone. I love that you don't just direct these suppliers to a website to apply. You walk them through step by step, and they have an actual person that they could ask questions to. And development seems to be important to Vizient and Corewell, so I think that's really important as well. So I'm going to go ahead and stop recording. So those watching the recording, thank you so much. There is information on the video. If you have any questions, please reach out to me. My name is Laura Geftos. My contact information is on the website. I'm going to go ahead and stop recording now.